don't get comfortable. Comfort will not get you into heaven, into paradise. When we become most uncomfortable is when we begin to head toward the kingdom of God. I don't think Jesus is anti-money or anti-wealth. Look at the history of the church. If it wasn't for money and wealth, you would have never seen all those incredibly beautiful edifices to praise and glorify God that we have been seeing for centuries. And we moan and bemoan the destruction of those places. As we've been seeing some of those beautiful places that have been built for 11, 12, and 1400 centuries, now they're being destroyed and destructed by the evil one. There is wealth at all times. But our understanding of wealth needs to be redefined. We need to revisit how we define wealth and how we understand it. I wish all of you are rich people. I wish all of you have millions of dollars. I wish all of you would win the lottery tomorrow. I wish all of you will possess everything that provides for your needs. And you do. Because you have Christ on your side. Even whether you have money or you lack it, you have all what you need. God is with us. God is with you. What's wrong with this picture here then? What's wrong with this picture? I think it's the same thing wrong with some of us. I don't think all of us, but I think some of us. Some of us are enslaved to money. Some of us are enslaved to money. It drives us. It guides us, it manipulates us, it makes us do things that we shouldn't do, and it makes us want things we shouldn't have, and we crave for more money and more money and more money, and we're never happy with it, no matter how much money we have. I tell the people around me, especially when they complain about not having enough money. My favorite statement is this: you will never have enough money. You'll always find ways, because that innate spiritual deficit that we have, we keep wanting more, and we don't manage our money in the right way. We don't manage our money in the right way. A few weeks ago, Marlo Thomas was recognized by ABC as the Person of the Week. And I don't know how many of you know, I'm sure most of you know who Marlo Thomas was. She was the daughter of the comedian Danny Thomas, and her mother was a very famous singer and all the good stuff. Her father established a wonderful philanthropic ministry that helps people, been helping people for many, many years. St. Jude's, I'm not sure I remember, but I know it's St. Jude's for burned children. And the policy of this organization, no one who is hurt will ever have to pay or worry about paying for their treatment. children will never, and their families will never have to pay for it. I love the way she took after that incredible organization. And they have so much support from many organizations, many businesses, and many companies throughout the nations. I think in 1 year they raised over $350 million for the support of this event. So you can imagine how much money they raise year after year. She said there is two kinds of people. Givers and takers. Givers and takers. Givers that love to give. And I think they have God's Spirit in them, that they love to give. And there's those who are takers. I mean, if you ever get them to give you a dime, they want to take it back from you as 25 bucks. There is a man that was drowning. And God managed to put him on a cliff where all what he has to do, pedal his feet, and he'll be standing on the cliff. But he was drowning, he was kicking, he was not seeing anything. And there was a man that came to him and he said, "Give me your hand and let me save you." He was breathing hard, inhaling, drinking water, sucking up everything he can imagine. And he wasn't about to listen to that man who's asking for his hand. And he won't do it. And the man said, "Well, maybe I better change my language." He looked at the man and he said, "Take my hand." And he did. Because he's not used to do anything except taking. He would have rather drowned because the other man did not use the right term. Two kinds of people, that give and that take. I love givers. Givers are not enslaved to money. Givers not enslaved to money. And givers does not mean they don't know how to manage money. They manage well, but they know how to manage the household of God. I am challenged every day by how people learn discipline everywhere except in church. And I thank God for our armed forces, because when we send our kids to join the armed forces, guess what? They leave home spoiled brats. And they come home disciplined. They learn discipline. We have kids that come to church and they leave church and they come out undisciplined, because life in most churches, unfortunately, has become undisciplined. Last Friday, Admiral William McRaven, probably most of you don't know who he is. How many of you know the name? Wow, no. Tall man, 6'5", 6'6", handsome, just retired. The man was instrumental in the operation that captured bin Laden and led to his death. He was invited to speak at a graduation at a university Texas. And he spoke about his career of a Navy SEAL. And for some time. And then he said, folks, I want to leave you with a very good advice. Very simple. He said, the advice I would want everybody to do, every time you wake up and you get out of bed, very simple thing. Make your bed. All what you have to do, make your bed. I said, when your day is not going well, and you had a bad day, and you know for sure, when the minute you get home, and you want to lie down, you have a bed that's already made. And then you know that you have done a good thing. And tomorrow, remember what you've done and build on it. Tomorrow, know what you've done and build on it. And in church, brothers and sisters, to become those who love to give, one, we must learn how to be tithers. How to give 10% of our income. Most of us here, even though we use the language, here we use the language, most of us don't do that. Most of us don't do that. Folks, when we don't tithe, the church will struggle and will suffer. Because everything in life depends on financial ability to support and to finance things. Whether you're at home or a church or organization, if your revenues don't rise up to where they ought to be, no organization will survive. In the church, God has commanded us, all Christians, to be tithers. And one simple thing, like Admiral William McRaven said, start with a simple thing to achieve a great thing. And the simple thing is, wherever you are in your tithing right now, say to yourself, I am giving this, and I'm going to make a difference to be obedient to God. And in my obedience to God, I'm going to make a pledge that in 3 years, I will start become fully tither to God and to His church. And then, in 3 years, if start with 5% and says, I'm going to work my way up to 10%. And when you become a lover of giving, there is no end to your giving. I want you to know that. J.C. Penney, one of my favorite people. He said, I started tithing. And by the time I got to where I am today, I only live off the tithe, and I give 90%. 90%. God will give you success when you're faithful with Him. But when we're not faithful with Him, He says, hey, I gotta pay the bill, I gotta make the payments on the house, and you should. And I got to take care of my groceries, and I got to do the things, and I got to save money to buy a car. And then you know what? Once you buy the car, it says I've got to have the money to buy a house. And then once you have a house, it says I got to get married. I got to raise some money and all the good stuff. And if you don't want to give, you will never be able to give. If you're not a giver, if God has not spoken to you, you will never be able to give. But if you're obedient to God, no matter how little you have, you will always be able to give. Always be able